it is great for us.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Leeds. Stephen is next. Yes, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Michael. Hi, guys. Nice to see you. Dogo, last time you guys played Glasgow, I think prior to the game, they were quite outspoken, about taking on your defense. Is that something that you kind of take from the previous game, what they said as a kind of a motivation, or put another way, are you mindful that they will try the same tactic again?
Yeah, we're very mindful of how they try and get around our sort of line speed. I don't think it really got us in the last game, Steve. I think in the game before, where I think it took, again, it was in the miserable beginning of January last year, when it was a grubber kick in the last minute that won in the game, but they got around us a couple of times. It didn't really apply in this game in November. I think there was a couple of more tries. We went down to 13.
Sorry, I was guilty of that.
Evan and Joseph were in the bin for a while, but I think we didn't quite see it, but that's something we're very mindful of, that their style of rugby and the fact that they're pretty confident they can get around our line speed. So yeah, we've got 1 or 2 plans, and I'm sure they got plans, whether they sit deeper or try little dinks over the top. We're preparing for both.
And Dobbo, if I think thinking back to the last game, I thought it was one of those games that probably you should have won, because it was like almost you were clubbing them, and then you'd get a line out in there, a line out in a good place, and you'd lose the ball. If I remember correctly, I think it was the last game. So do you take confidence in a way? I know it's strange to take confidence from a game where I think you didn't score a try in, I remember correctly, but it almost like I got the impression that on the balance of the game, you actually had the beating of them. You only had to execute your basics a bit better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going into this game, the game in last year's one in January. As I say, took a grubber at the end, and that's when they really did catch us with their depth and how they played. And it took a grubber. Last year, we went without our Springboks. You did right. And it was one of those nights where we felt everything went wrong. As you say, set piece, the cards. I think Sash got card charged down off it, dropped a kick off, a restart. It was just a car crash. We're not going there daunted by our previous experience. In fact, as you probably are suggesting, a little bit of optimism. We've taken we know what Glasgow could throw at us, and as I said at the start of this chat, 4 versus 5, not much between those two. It's game on.
And just if you're looking at the Lions game, obviously the Lions gave them a bit of a beating, in spite of being a man down. Obviously, the Lions always have that high felt advantage with which the overseas teams struggle against. But what can you take from that game in terms of what the Lions said that could work?
Yeah, we can put the field on a forklift or something. Okay, I felt, like you're saying, Steve, I felt that was a game Glasgow did a lot of attacking, and then they would make a mistake or an intercept, or the ball pops out and somebody passes it to Edward or JC back, and it's a try. So I think a lot, 3 o'clock at Ellis Park, are very, very tricky. We see both at Loftus the whole season. For any of these teams, you're still putting sunscreen on, and the ball's slippery. Now, I'm not being too flippant about it. There are elements there around Glasgow. They do play a ball in hand game, like Evan said, and so we got to put them under pressure with that, and something we built to do and like doing. So, and that's probably how the Lions, the Lions to a certain degree, that formula. The Lions in this season, it happened with them in their easy win against Leinster, where teams play a lot of rugby against them, and they put these ball in hand teams and put them under pressure till you get the turnover, and that's probably something that our defense quite enjoys as well. So that'll be the lesson from it. But I do think it was sort of exaggerated a little bit by the sheer conditions. At Scotstoun, you make those breaks. It's easier to scramble. Those sort of turnovers. Ellis Park, those turnovers are literally searing. So, but the idea of putting a ball hand team under pressure, that's largely where this game's going to be decided. Yeah, their attacking game in depth versus our sort of reasonably justifiably vaunted defense.
And Franco's quite. I don't think there are any. As unpredictable as his teams could be. I mean, I guess you know what to expect. There's no secrets there.
No, look, he's done a great job there. They at one stage it looked like they might finish first. I mean, it's. I think what we must understand about Glasgow, it's not. We sort of used to the paradigm of Scottish rugby struggling, and the national team's done much better. And this is a big budget team. I mean, you can look at those names. You don't get that many internationals. It's not for free. I mean, there's some big, a lot of internationals, some big players out there. So and it's well coached. We know exactly what's coming in those conditions. We know what that stadium is, a curious stadium. We know the style of rugby, and but Evan also made a correct point. Is I think it was somebody in response to the question that as much as they got this running ball in hand game, they scored the most amount of tries off lineouts, or them in Ulster. I think 62% or 61% of their tries come from lineouts, and Ulster 62. So it's a big mauling team on that 4G. If the maul gets going forward quickly, it's very hard to stop. So we know what's coming. It's the old adage, we've got to stop it. We know exactly what to expect. It's a high quality team. I mean, just look at those centres. What do they call them? Hui Piloto. We know Hugh Well and Tupilot, international centre pairing. And there are also those threats all over the field. It's Carl Steyn up front, the Fergusons. It's Richie the Grey. We know how good they are on the line out and the contesting. So we're just preparing for a high level game like that.
I hope you don't end up regretting pulling that centre out of, I think, doing a part-time job on a gap year.
We did regret it 2 years ago. Jones is not disappointed in the product, how it's evolved. He's quite pleased with himself.
Yeah. Your talent spotting came back to bite you.
Yeah. Watching post balance 20s. It was literally.
Mike, I have a few for Evan. I just, if anyone else wants to come in, I'm happy with that. But otherwise, I'll continue with Evan.
Go for it, Stephen. Let's just keep rolling.
Great, thank you. Evan, that run of yours on the weekend, that I thought back to that one against the Sharks. I think in your first year at Province. I think the difference was then you had a guy on your back when you scored the try against the Sharks. But it must have felt, and you've made quite a few good runs, but it must feel good, really having your groove with the ball in hand. It's really a good season in that way for you.
Yeah, it's never bad scoring a try at the HL Stadium and it's packed like that. So this would be a cool memory of mine. And it's been a weird season last year with my knee, and first one ripped in my knee and then straight into 2 games playoffs. So this season as well, I felt I got my groove till I broke my jaw. But since after that, it's been feeling back to normal again. After that first season, those 1 or 2 injuries are obviously a bit irritating, but I'm just super happy. I'm just playing good rugby and be able to play rugby the way we do things. It makes it fun.
And whenever I ask other teams, coaches about the Stormers' strengths and so on, always your name comes up. I think the last time I asked a guy who said that number 8 of theirs is a cracking player. Roos, he said. So, do you feel that you're being maybe guys are keeping a close eye on you to try and contain you?
Yes, obviously, I think, but there's 14 other guys I think are just as good. So if it's my job for them to keep their eye on me and the other guys go score and run tries, I do it the whole day as long as we win. But obviously teams do analysis and stuff. But I feel we're blessed with so much guys in our team that can run with ball, make decisions and everything. So luckily we covered in that department.
And you guys as a team, half an hour, 14 guys. I know they also had 14 for a while, but the last 20 minutes, the last quarter of the game, a player less on the field, and you guys pulled together. So what do you feel that says about you as a team?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think it's a great test of what we've been through this season and the character and the never say die attitude in the fight we always have. It's cool to see that in a group of players because it's not something you can actually coach. It's just I think people are the players in the squad are proud to wear this badge and represent this province, and that's where that I think that desire and fight comes from. And it's awesome to be a part of a group that thinks that way and plays that way.
And a maul of almost 20 meters. That was fun, eh?
Yeah, Rita would be very happy about that. And yeah, it's obviously something in our game we pride on. It hasn't been always as effective as it used to be. But yeah, that's part of the game. We have to find ways around it. But yeah, we always pride ourselves that we can maul, and it's one of our, as we said earlier, many arrows in the arsenal we have.
And even the obvious question always is, and I think it's even more relevant now that Jasper has been suspended for a while and Dwayne has retired. I mean, is it a big thing for you to, go to the box and make that number 8 jersey yours?
Well, first things first, we got to win a quarterfinal, hopefully a semi, and then a final of the year. And as I always say, those things will take care of themselves. It's obviously, I'm going to laugh. It's not a dream of any South African rugby player, but I've come to learn those things will come when it's supposed to come. My first priority is now to train today and tomorrow and get on the plane, and myself and the team do our best job this weekend to secure ourselves a semi-final and then hopefully a final after that.
Dobbo, just on that maul, there was I think in the previous game, there was a bit of a technicality in terms of transitioning to maul. So it's something that you must be happy that you guys got right in terms of transitioning and executing the maul.
Yeah, the maul itself was much better. I think there's something you're right. There's a technical thing we've got better there. I think Evan does a very good job. It's actually one of the advantages of playing him 6. He's very good way he punch. Well, I won't say too much way in that ripper roll. What was frustrating in that game was we actually coughed up 2 5-meter lineouts before that, So it's pity because the way the maul was going, we would have got more. We had a skew throw and we had a ball was contested. So that was frustration. We just got to convert more of those. But no, to see us felt like last season again when we started getting that sort of go forward. We've struggled a little bit this season as teams knew. Teams knew what we were doing in the maul wise. We've tweaked something and it seems to come off because Lions are a good good maul defense team. So yeah, and Glasgow a high contesting team. So we know it's going to be a pressure area as well.
One issue that popped up the last number of weeks is kickoff receiving. Has that been a focus of yours in terms of sharpening up there?
Yeah, look, it's a focus, and which we haven't got right. You saw how that game started on the weekend. Herschel took the kickoff. We were under pressure. Herschel was on the ground. We set up a breakdown. He got up, had to kick a ball in a hurry, and they ended up with the 20 lineup just outside our 22. Look, we've done some good ones, but it is something we're very aware of. What Doc Moss, who I was very fond of, used to say, the old tennis saying, you haven't broken their guy's serve till you've held yours. So the old adage of you haven't scored a try till you got back in their half. And I think it's probably not our flashiest point at the moment, but something we're acutely aware of and just trained now.
Thanks very much, guys. Good luck.
Thanks, Steve.
Cool, thanks, Steve. We got Gavin, Nathan, and Sim to end. Yes, Gavin.
How's it, guys? I'm not sure if I'm right in saying this, that maybe Stephen was confusing the Munster game with the Glasgow game, because it was actually, I think, if I remember correctly, the Glasgow game was your first game on the November tour. Am I right, Dobbo?
I don't know if Stephen was confusing, but it was our first game of the tour. But he did
and it was that one.
He did have some facts before you tell your colleague apart.
No, I'm not out to do that. I actually want to make the point. Well, I don't want to make a point. I want you to make a point. It's just that because actually it was the Munster game where you clubbed them and you didn't get across the line. I think you lost by 7 points, whereas I think that it was a little bit more comprehensive in that first game. What I actually wanted to ask was like when you go on tour, and you've got a 4-match tour, and you're targeting certain games. And ever since that tour, you've always spoken about the 2 weaker teams, that the games that you sort of threw away. How different is it when you're going back there basically for a sort of, well, I know it's not, I mean, it's hopefully it is a tour, a 3-match tour, but when you're going back there for a sort of like a one-off game, it's all or nothing, it's a knockout game. How much different is it to going over there for a tour?
Yeah,
where you might have to manage players and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Gav. I mean, it's the first time for us, we hosted every URC playoff we could. So, we told the guys to pack for a few weeks, but it's all about this Saturday. I mean, it is interesting. We got challenged, not get into things are okay, but it's, some of the group have already left, staff, some are leaving at 12 tomorrow, 1 tomorrow, some are leaving tomorrow night, some are leaving on Wednesday. So there's a challenge, but the nature of it, it's very different feeling to a tour. It's building out our equivalent of our sort of franchise, or I hate that word, sorry, I hate that word. It's our union or club version of a test match. So the whole thing's about the focus on this week, our best team out, the other guys are there just to support. But that's it, it's novel for us. We don't know if we're flying to Limerick, Pretoria, or home on Saturday or Sunday. So
okay.
Just
with regards to the guy sitting next to you, I wasn't actually there. It was a Friday afternoon, so you probably guess where I was. When you explained why you chose Evan at 6. If you can maybe just go through that again and just tell me how you feel he's tracking there, and also just making it a bit of a wider question, how your loose trio is tracking at the moment, because it's an interesting loose trio.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the injuries to Nama and Dion did put us under a bit of pressure. We went into it there with Marcel and Billy, but neither of them are sort of out and out. Neither of them really steal. I mean, I think Billy could be taught to. Marcel's a real 7-8 high intensity worker and carrier, a really good player. And actually, our best guy on the ground there is Evan. And we also, that was the one piece. The second piece, it didn't feel quite right having, the way Hachiba's been playing this season, having him out. I think BJ has cemented himself as 7th thing. I think the third element would be that 6 and 8, if you look at Dion and even at how well Evan's playing at the moment, are very similar now, in that you're carrying the ball between the trams a lot and working a lot there with both defensive and offensive breakdowns, which he's very good at, whereas our 7s tend to be a little bit wider. So that sort of fitted in. So Evan was the most, and I also thought it, honest, not the main reason did it, probably the 4th reason. It'd be good for his growth, to show, that sort of level of involvement, and to show that, as he said, another arrow in his sort of quiver. And he's been brilliant. So I'm thrilled with the way he's tracking at 6, and we've got Chooks on the field. It hasn't quite, I mean, if the question is, it hasn't quite flowed for Chooks as much, but the 2 flanks are going brilliantly. But I mean, Achiba is a game breaker, and those moments, they don't happen 10 times a game. It's once or twice a game, and it'll come. I think he's been carrying very well. The ideal mix would probably be, a real Dion at 6 and Evan at 8, but Evan's just played so brilliantly there, I think. And as back to somebody's early question, the way he's behaving on the field, the discipline, despite the provocation and everything, superb. So I'm thrilled with him at 6. Yeah, that's how we see it. I'll probably be the same again this week.
Okay, and I think I'm right in saying that you've had 2 games on the 4G pitch on the bounce now that you've won. The Stade Francais and the most recent one overseas in Connacht. Am I right? I don't know if there are any other 4G pitches there.
Dragons is a hybrid.
Yeah, that was hybrid. Yeah. Okay, so how do you feel you're adjusting to that? Because you have got a little bit of momentum on that surface now.
Yeah, we're starting to learn about that, exactly that, the momentum piece, whether that's a more time and ball carry. It's incredibly unforgiving. I mean, I would prefer them not to exist. I think from a player safety, the lottery of the game. I mean, just you see a Connacht, for example, the pick and go. Without being too boring, if the guy's making a pick and go, he puts his studs in the ground to pick the ball up close to the line. On grass, if there's a contact, his foot almost skids back. In a 4G, if they get their studs in, they can actually cannon forward off it because their studs aren't going to give. And it makes it almost impossible to defend. I think it's dangerous because your legs can twist. We've done injuries like that at Adre in Cardiff last year. But in terms of playing on it, I think we've got a much better understanding of the momentum piece, the ball rolling piece, the scrum piece, how fast you have to be in the maul. It's less of a power maul rather than a speed maul to get on top, because it's very hard once one team or players going forward to get back in the fight on the 4G. So we're a lot more confident and less daunted by it than we were, and I think the experience of this past tour was very useful for us.
Okay, and just a final question from me. The injury thing, is Warwick okay to play this weekend?
Who knows? Oh, you mean physically? No, he's great. He's great. It was a mixture of a niggle and precaution. And I had this theory the whole time that we need one of them to be at the back in the sharp end of this tournament. And once Damien went down, just felt like we couldn't really take a chance, especially when he had a niggle. So he's 100%. So no injuries from last week, which is, given how tough that game was, is quite nice.
Okay, and just because Davy did speak quite a bit on Friday about Sasha as a fullback. I'm assuming that obviously in a game like this, I mean, you are happy to move him back to the midfield.
Yeah, he'll go somewhere forward, either bench or probably into 12. Yeah, well, those are the options. Yeah, so definitely. Okay. But Michael says something now.
I was about to say the team's being announced on Friday. Okay.
I was going to say you could play 10. I mean, let's keep them guessing, right?
Okay.
True. Okay, thanks, guys.
Cool, Nathan.
Thank you. I'll keep it very short. A good day, guys. Dobbo, prior to the last Europe tour, you didn't really have a good record away from home. Now you have 2 consecutive wins away. Do you feel the side does take a lot of confidence? I mean, if we look at the road to the final for the Stormers.
I think we're taking some confidence from how we've fought our way. You did right, Nate. Since Ospreys, but with Dragons, Connacht, we did well at Leicester away, we did well at Stade, we did well at in the friendly in Northampton. So there's confidence about that. We have to be honest, and say at the same stage, Connacht and Dragons aren't in the URC playoffs, and Glasgow have been close to tabletoppers the whole time. So it's going to have to be a step up pass. But just the fact of being away or the fact of being in 4G, those aren't the points anymore, which is good for us. We're feeling a lot more confident. And also there's another factor. It's the same with the Northern Hemisphere teams experience coming down here. It's a big difference, I'd imagine, between Glasgow between the 8th of January and then the 8th of June. And that's something to give us a bit more sort of confidence.
Then secondly, just touching on Gavin's question, but from the person in question, Evan, just talk us through how are you enjoying the role at the Stormers, playing all 3 loose forward positions, and do you feel there are areas you need to get better in, which could in a way assist you in getting chosen for the a spot in the box setup?
Yeah, there's always room to improve. It has been great playing all 3 loose forward positions. Broadens your expertise and you learn new things playing all 3. But as Dobbo said, luckily the difference between 6 and 8 isn't too much. Same type of role on the team, and so that's been good. The only more of a difference is 7 on our setup. Yeah. But yeah, still happy and grateful to have learned a bit of those skills if it's ever needed wherever I play. And yeah, with the box, as I said earlier, those things look after themselves. My job is for the Stormers now.
Then finally, Dobbo, I'm not sure if you're in the loop with the latest transfers. It's reported that Cohen, Bosch, and Nocha are big names leaving the Sharks. John Plumtree did mention that a few players will be leaving the union after the second last URC game. Are you guys in talks with Noche for comeback?
No, I mean, Noche is a guy. Almost say he's a friend, he's a guy I've come a long path with. He's a guy I stay in constant touch with, but nothing formal at this stage. My overriding thing with Noche, whether he gets a nice gig, that he progresses his career and gets back to the prominence he was. I'm not sure that's going to be here. So we've had chats, but no formal, no offer from the Stormers. And so yeah, that one's fluid. I was hoping he'd be extended there. I generally just want Noche to be okay. As I say, he's a guy I've had a 10-12 year relationship with, and as much as I'd love him back here because how much I like him personally, he must do what's right for his career, and I've got to do what's right for his union, and our timing might not be quite right now. One thing we probably this season overstocked a little bit on loose forward. Some guys couldn't get the game time, like a guy like Billy dropped a lot of game time, a guy like Junior dropped a lot of game time. So Yeah, we can't just bring it. I think we actually need to be a little bit thinner there. So it's probably going to be unlikely. Our timing might be out as much as I love not to.
Cool. Thank
Cool.
you.
Thanks, Nathan. Sim to end. Yes, Sim.
How's it, guys? How you doing?
How's it?
How's it?
All good, all good. First question, John, it almost feels like you guys have been going backwards in the competition in terms of obviously winning in the first, runners up in the second, and now qualifying to go away for your, for your playoff game. Just from a psychological perspective, I must admit, you guys look quite relaxed. Is it less pressure in a strange way because there's no expectation of you, hopping on a plane and having to do it there?
Yeah, look, I think we if we look at the project and where we were, we're quite happy that we're pleased to be in the playoffs. We're pleased to be in Champions Cup rugby. Yeah, there's a little element. I mean, we'd love to play at DHL Stadium, but we know that for this team to really progress and become what we want to become, we have to win these games on the road. So, funny way I'm welcoming it. I think it's good for us. Ironically, I think Mike can correct me here, but we went 12 from 18 all 3 years. So I don't think we really feel like we're going backwards in that respect. Other teams have got a couple more points than us and other results. But I think our win ratio is exactly the same, unless I could well be wrong, so, but I'm pretty sure it is that. There might have been a drawing. There might have been a drawing one. In terms of the season, how it's gone for us, I'd agree with you, Sim. It's been since we last went on the tour early on. We felt like I said to the team last week, we had a knife to our throat for a large part of the season, and that adds the pressure. And the fact that we punched through that, like we have, to finish 5th, I think is good, because I think when we came back from the tour, we were 13, which is very much like our first season. We didn't climb quite as high as we wanted to. That Ospreys game was devastating for us. But yeah, we feel like I don't know, I can't explain it, but I think you spot on, Sim. It feels like there's an opportunity here rather than a threat. We don't feel like we under massive pressure. We're excited about going overseas for a few weeks now.
Sorry, man. I basically meant that just looking purely at the results in terms
I
of.
agree. That's totally simple.
I don't
No,
know.
I'm not taking offense. I'm just saying, interesting. I have the same feeling as you. It's just our win ratio. I think there are a couple of draws, but in terms of the excitement and the sort of joie of the whole campaign, it's definitely not been our worst. But in a funny way, that's allowed us to show a bit more perhaps dog and fight. Like Rocky and Sasha on the weekend making that tackle. No, you did right. I'm not being defensive about it. Just curious that our record was pretty much similar, but doesn't feel the same. Yeah, and maybe that's why we're excited, because we felt like we've really scrapped to get through here, and now it's a bonus. I might be wrong.
Okay, last one from me. Franco likes his surprises, and he's got a weird sort of bomb squad system where he starts with these reserve props, and then at about 30 minutes, he puts on his starting props. What sort of big sort of surprises are you expecting?
I think what we're expecting, look, I think there's some players around the line out we've got a reasonably good handle on, like creative players there, and involving Tupolotto into the sort of vacuum area. I think the dings over the top or one way against our line speed, that's something we'd be prepping for. Yeah, if he counts the bomb squad, yeah, that's great. We've got 2 really good front rows ourselves. I understand the logic. We've done the same thing. But as I say, I think our second front row is also going to be pretty good. So that could be quite an interesting battle at scrum time. I think 2 years ago, we really had them under the pump there. This game and the tour, not so much. So it's also going to be a battle. I mean, the international Leydens there, and Kebble, Ferguson, Batty, a whole lot. So that'll be a turnout. It'll be a tough battle in the scrums. But yeah, Franco, look, you've got to give him credit for the job he's done at Glasgow. I mean, they've had a good squad for a while. They went under Gregor, gone through a bit of a dip, but they're a good team. I think they're 24 games unbeaten of they at Scotstoun. I might be wrong on that, but it's a long unbeaten stretch at Scotstoun.
Cool, thanks, Sim. Gavin, you got one quick question before we end.
Yeah, sorry, it was actually, I meant to ask it earlier, and it was related to something Dobbo said much earlier in the press conference. Obviously, there's a different sort of possible curveball that comes in when you have to book your flight so late because you don't know where you're going. Has there been any? I mean, has everything gone smoothly on the logistical side, Dobbo? I mean, I'm assuming you're going on not the direct route, but I mean to the UK.
Look, we worked on this for a long time, and it's challenging because you can't. we didn't know we were going till Saturday night. So, and we wanted, so it's a rugby been very helpful and giving us some upper class, some better quality seats. But the truth is that it's a touring party. Some guys left 1 o'clock today, some leave 1 o'clock tomorrow, some leave 1 o'clock on Wednesday, some leave on Wednesday night. It's not ideal from a training, it limits your training. But obviously we put some staff out today. The main group goes tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It means you've got to be at the airport at 11. You can work out what that does to your training week. So it's not like we're all hopping on a plane tonight, like and all flying in where we could have pre-booked it. It's a challenge in terms of our training time, and so the players' maturity and sort of understanding the plan and sort of taking on board themselves is really important. Given our reduced days, you can't arrive there on the last guys we'll get into. We're all flying to Edinburgh, get a bus, get there Thursday afternoon. It's not much you can do. So that's part of but I think the guys that we embraced it, and we actually almost used to it from the last 2 tours. We've also left a bit late, so it is a challenge.
Okay, cool. Not perfect, but thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Catch you Friday. Cheers.